This is a 5-minute business builder with Rick Howe, where your business comes first on News 95.7.
12:22 is the time, and we occasionally welcome members of the city's business community to join us from time to time to tell us more about what they're doing and what they offer. And this afternoon, we welcome back senior mortgage advisor Clinton Wilkins to the studio to tell us, well, about Pride Week at Home Ownership. And Clinton, good afternoon to you.
Thanks for having me, Rick.
Well, thank you for joining us here again today. And this is Pride Week, of course, the Pride Festival underway, and I believe it wraps up, if I'm not mistaken, this weekend.
This weekend, yeah. It started last Thursday.
Yep.
And as you know, there's lots of festivities going on all over the city. And we actually did a workshop last week around pride and homeownership.
Okay, explain, please.
And I think, homeownership is part of the Canadian dream. And, we really want to educate as many consumers as possible around what does homeownership look like, being inclusive, being aware. I bought my first house when I was 19 years old with my partner at the time.
Yep.
And, I think there were some roadblocks back then. I think there's definitely some issues around heteronormativity of housing. And I think that now Halifax is becoming more and more accepting. And I think that homeownership is available for everyone. And I think that, just some of those topics are so important to talk about.
You mentioned this word here, heteronormative housing. What do you mean by that?
Well, I think that, even when you walk into an open house, people ask, okay, what's your situation? Is this your friend? Is it your husband? Is it your wife? What's the situation? And I think that, just being aware is so important.
That's still an issue.
And I think it's still an issue. Yeah. And, even from the mortgage lending side of things, I started in this industry 13 years ago, and we've done, over 2,500 transactions and $500 million. So I've seen everything, and we've done mortgages for everyone. But there's still the question around what's the spousal status? How does that impact the legal requirements here in the province of Nova Scotia?
Is this a bank issue mostly?
It's a bank issue, and I think it's also an issue sometimes when you're, going to open houses or if you're shopping for a home, you need to have the right team in place. And the team really looks like, your person who's going to do the mortgage, whether that's a unbiased mortgage professional or if you're walking into a bank. Your licensed real estate professional, lawyers, real estate appraisers. There's lots of people involved in the transaction. And I think that it's just being aware and being sensitive to everyone's different situation. It's not just the cookie cutter, 90%. There's still the other 10% out there that, everybody's situation does look different.
Yeah.
But I can tell you, we get asked every time, what is the relationship between the borrowers? If you're not legally married in the province of Nova Scotia, the Matrimonial Property Act does not apply unless you are legally common law. And at
least for a year, I believe, common law.
You actually have to register down at Vital Statistics at Service Nova Scotia. So if you're not registered as common law, even if you file your income tax together, you are not legally common law in the province of Nova Scotia. And oftentimes those questions come up when we're doing a mortgage transaction because it can impact things like the deed, and it can impact, how the lender may look at the borrowers. So, for us, we definitely ask the right questions, and, we definitely want to get as much information and make it as smooth as possible for everyone, because I think that everyone deserves to have the same rights, and I think that everyone deserves to have the same opportunity.
While they're being denied mortgages, for example?
I don't think that would ever happen, especially not in our office. I can't speak to everyone across the board. I think that, we are very accepting in Halifax and Atlantic Canada and really across the country. We're very lucky here in Canada. But I think it's still just being aware of what the situation is.
Yeah. And again, there's still obviously a bias that exists.
I think there's still a bias. I think no matter what minority group we're looking at, there's going to be a bias. And I think that's why pride is so important. It's, I think we need to celebrate the differences, and we need to really celebrate how far we've come, because I can tell you, even 13 years ago, there were probably mortgage applications that were turned down for same-sex couples because they weren't legally married. And I can tell you 20, 30 years ago, it would have been a real challenge. And I think today we've definitely come a long way, but I think that we still need to be aware that there are challenges.
Is that still an issue for heterosexual couples who might not be married?
Yeah, it's an exact same law. So if you're not legally married and if you're not legally common law, it's the same issues may arise. Some lenders require both to be on title, and that could be a challenge.
Yeah.
If there's one on title and the other person's not on title, they might not have any legal rights to the property. So I think it's definitely a conversation to have with your unbiased mortgage professional, with your licensed real estate professional, with your lawyer, so you can get the proper advice that fits your specific situation.
And you are an unbiased mortgage professional.
Yeah, we love helping our customers, and we're going to be on Saturday on the Todd Vito Show. Yep. So, if anybody wants to call in and ask any questions specifically on their situation, I'm certainly willing to answer it, especially from a mortgage point of view. That's really what we do every day. We're lending money to consumers. And, we really want to make homeownership available to everyone. So I think having an equal playing field is definitely the way to go.
And if people want to get a hold of you outside of being on the air with Todd, how can they get a hold of you?
They can check us out online at teamclinton.ca/radio. And feel free to call in on Saturday. We'd love to answer as many questions as we can. And we'll have some more conversations around Pride as Pride Week really wraps up. And we'll talk about housing and some of the challenges and what the process looks like.
All right. Senior Mortgage Advisor Clinton Wilkins.